Randy, can you get me an agenda?
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Bucks County Commissioners meeting for April 6th, 2022. We are going to begin, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. And doing the pledge today, the fifth floor has had the good fortune to have an intern with us from our Project Search, Patrick Hagan, who's helping us out a lot on the fifth floor, and he's also doing some other work in the county. So Patrick's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Patrick. Quite a few offices have had the chance to have some Project Search interns working with them over the course of this year. And I know we're going to be continuing the program next year. And so if you haven't had the opportunity to have a Project Search intern, you definitely want to check it out. So it's a great program, and we're happy to have him here. So, Patrick, thank you. Okay, we have a couple presentations this morning. We are going to start with Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month Proclamation, which I will read. Okay. Whereas April is recognized as Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month across our Commonwealth, an initiative supported by Pennsylvania 811, which in 2022 was celebrating its 50th year of continuous service to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And whereas this unique service provides an easy, one-call notification about excavation projects that otherwise could endanger workers and jeopardize utility lines, while also promoting workplace and public safety, reducing underground utility damage and service interruptions, and protecting the environment. And whereas the Pennsylvania One Call system began with only 6 utility companies in western PA and now serves more than 100,000 excavators and over 3,660 critical underground infrastructure owners throughout the Commonwealth. And whereas by dialing 811 at least 3 business days before digging, a homeowner or contractor allows this service to notify the appropriate underground utility operators in the municipality where the work will be performed. And whereas upon receiving the notification from Pennsylvania 811, utilities can go to the work site to mark the location of their underground lines with flags, paint, or both. And whereas by making this call, homeowners and contractors are protecting themselves, work crews, utilities, and neighbors from any unsafe digging practices. And whereas since 1972, Pennsylvania 811 has received more than 19 million dig notifications from homeowners, designers, and professional excavators, including 1 million notifications just in 2021. Now, therefore, do we, the Board of Bucks County Commissioners, hereby proclaim April 2021 as Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month throughout the County of Bucks. In doing so, we encourage all Bucks County residents, contractors, and excavators to dial 811, or, if you like long phone numbers, 1-800-242-1776, at least 3 business days before digging in order to know what's below, avoid injury, protect the environment, and prevent millions of dollars in damage. We would also like to remind all excavators that 3 business days notice is the law for safe digging, and that more information can be obtained by visiting www.pa811.org. And we have with us Greg Danks today from Damage Limitation Liaison, with Pennsylvania One Call System. Greg, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for your efforts to declare April Safe Digging Month in Bucks County, as we're doing in multiple counties throughout the state and the Commonwealth itself. We know from experience that April is the time of year where our excavators, our big construction companies are starting to do a lot of their big projects. A lot of municipalities are starting a lot of upgrades and repaving projects, and homeowners who have been stuck home all winter are now eager to plant gardens, install fences, put up mailboxes, plant trees. So anytime somebody calls and gives that notification to 811, and we can turn that back over, it's going to help protect all the underground infrastructure and the people who are actually doing the digging. Next slide, please. At Pennsylvania One Call, our purpose is to prevent damage to underground facilities. To promote safety, we provide an efficient and effective communications network among project owners, designers, excavators, and facility owners. Go ahead, 2 slides, please. At Pennsylvania One Call, we are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single day of the year. You can call us at 2 in the morning, you can call us at lunchtime, you can call us at dinner. If somebody calls us and tells us that they're going to be digging at 11:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve, a sober person will pick up the phone and take your concerns very seriously. We are always there. We have over 3,600 member facility owners, and there are over 100,000 different individuals and companies who call us every single year. Next slide, please. Those facility owners, they're the people who own things underground. We're talking about your telephone companies, your gas providers, your water companies, your electric companies, municipalities who own their own storm sewers and culverts. In Bucks County alone, we also have manufactured housing communities, we have shopping centers, we have universities, we have hospitals that all own underground facilities that are all being notified when you call up. Next slide, please. Anybody who's calling us, it is mandatory that you notify 811 anytime you're using powered equipment or any kind of demolishing a structure by any means. Now, just because you're only required to call us when you're using powered equipment does not mean you should not be calling us if you're just using shovels and pickaxes. There's no reason one of those can't go through somebody's underground line. And once you go through somebody's underground line, in addition to risking injury to yourself, you may have just knocked out power to an entire cul-de-sac or a community. You may have knocked out internet. Everybody's working from home now, so they're not going to be very happy with you. Next slide, please. When you place that call, you are required to call 3 business days before you dig. That gives the facility owners time to go out and mark their lines. That's all that spray paint that you see on the ground that you always wonder, what are they talking about here? Somebody has called us, told us that they're doing work in that area. We've relayed that information. Next slide, please. So when the excavator calls us to let us know their intention to dig, Pennsylvania 811 is going to let everybody in that municipality who has underground lines registered with us know that that digging is coming through. The facility owners then have the next 2 business days to mark out all of their lines in the area or tell the excavator that they're clear, they don't have anything, and you shouldn't worry about hitting their things. We'll send out a report the morning of the lawful start date, and the excavator will have all that information and be able to continue safely. Next slide. We do ask excavators and homeowners, if you're doing any kind of work, please pre-mark your site in white. That helps the locators who are very busy. Pennsylvania One Call receives over 1 million calls a year, and on average for each call, we're notifying 7 different facility owners. So there's about 7 million notifications going out every year. Locators are very busy. If you, as the excavator, can pre-mark your site in white, that would be extremely helpful. Next slide, please. So in those intervening 2 days after you call, before you're allowed to dig, you may look outside and see somebody walking down the street with a hard hat, a vest on, and they may be putting some spray paint down on the ground. They're not vandals, they're good people, they're marking out where those underground lines are. The colors that are on the ground, and when you guys leave here today, just look down. I guarantee you that they're going to be within a block of you. These lines are everywhere. The color code is standard. If you see yellow, that's always going to indicate gas, steam, petroleum lines. If you see red, those are your electric lines, your cables and conduits, traffic loops. Orange is going to be your telecommunications lines, your traffic loops. Blue is drinking water, purple is reclaimed and irrigation lines, and green is your storm sewer. So even if you're not going to call, you're not doing any kind of work, just take a look down and think about all of the busy infrastructure that's under you. Next slide, please. When they place that line down, it's going to indicate an area where the excavator has to use prudent techniques to dig. Prudent techniques means that you can't just go in there with a backhoe. You may have to go in there with a shovel or soft excavation. They have these vacuum trucks. They've got this giant hose on the top, or water excavation that'll allow you to clear the ground away from that underground facility or pipeline and then support it while you're doing all your work and properly backfill it. Skip forward to the last slide, please. That would put me forward 1, 2, 3 slides. One past this, please. Thank you. This is our contact information for all of our liaisons across the state. Each of Pennsylvania's 67 counties is covered by a liaison. My name's Greg. I cover Philadelphia, Bucks, and Delaware counties. My contact information is on the website. I'm happy to answer questions for anybody who has any questions that they want to ask. Also want to point out, if you are a homeowner doing work on your own residence, the call to 811 and to have those lines marked out is a 100% free service. So please consider taking advantage of us, and thank you again for your time this morning.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate all the work you do to keep people safe. We do have, obviously, the proclamation here, if you want to come forward and take a photograph. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's yours. Yeah. Okay, we also have a proclamation for Second Chance Month, and Commissioner Marseglia will read that.
Happy to do that, too. Whereas approximately 1 in 3 American adults has a criminal record, which can limit access to education, jobs, housing, and other necessities for prosperity and survival. And whereas these barriers can contribute to recidivism, which increases victimization and decreases public safety. And whereas in the land of the free, a criminal record should not mean a lifetime of disqualifications from opportunities to build a better life. Individuals returning from prison deserve a second chance and not the second prison of social stigma. And whereas Second Chance Month was created in 2017 to improve perceptions of men and women with criminal records and to encourage policy changes and programs to benefit those looking for their second chance. And whereas observed every year in April, Second Chance Month is part of a nationwide effort to raise awareness of the collateral consequences of criminal convictions and to unlock opportunities for people who have served their time and are ready to once again live as contributing citizens. And whereas in their work helping adults and young people in the criminal justice system to achieve their greatest potential, the Bucks County Department of Adult Probation and Parole and Juvenile Probation live and advance the mission of Second Chance Month each day of the year. So now, therefore, do we, the Bucks County Board of Commissioners, hereby proclaim April 2022 to be Second Chance Month throughout the County of Bucks. In so doing, we commend the professionals of the Bucks County Adult Probation and Parole Department, the Juvenile Probation Department, for their commitment to enhancing community safety while promoting positive behavior changes among individuals in the criminal justice system. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay.
And I would add,
I was going to say, yeah, thank you. And we have Mike Harrison and Louis Emanuele who are here.
and Lou is from the Department of Corrections, and also commend the DOC for their partnership and all this work we've been doing. So thank you, and thank you so much to this board for recognizing National Second Chance Month. It's an honor to be back before you. As you mentioned, Commissioner Marseglia, Second Chance Month, also known as National Reentry Month, was started by the Prison Fellowship back in 2017 to highlight the importance of providing opportunities to formerly incarcerated individuals. It's Second Chance Month is supported by the Department of Justice, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and our local Bucks County Reentry Coalition. And speaking of the Reentry Coalition, the last time we were here before you was about a year ago, where we announced the launch of the coalition's website, bucksreentry.com. And it just has been such a humbling and inspiring experience over the past few years to be part of this. You know, I've been honored to serve as chairperson of the coalition. Mr. Emanuele is the co-chair of the coalition. And we're just so proud of the achievements of our over 50 strong member agencies who have improved reentry in Bucks County by better providing information and access to resources for people transitioning back to the community from Bucks County Prison. We've maintained a diverse membership from all facets of the reentry system, including government, nonprofits, treatment, housing, education, employment, faith-based, peer support agencies, and others. Adult probation, thanks to Chief Schenk, I think she stepped out, but Chief Schenk, in collaboration with Director Kratz and his predecessor, established the first reentry unit in Bucks County. We've improved opportunities to access housing, employment, treatment, and other resources, and we just can't thank you all enough for supporting this from day one. We thank the court. We couldn't do this without the court either. Chief Schenk, Director Kratz, District Attorney Weintraub, Public Defender Ann Faust is here, and everyone else who has just supported this initiative, dedicated themselves, many people in this box, others in this room. I think what I'm most humbled and inspired by is the shared belief we all have. Like that slide says, we believe in second chances. We believe in treating everyone with respect, dignity, and like a human being. We believe in providing individuals with opportunities to be successful, because you know what? When you provide someone with a second chance, with an opportunity to be successful, and they're ready to make a positive change, when they're ready to take advantage of those opportunities, our community is safer and stronger. There's less crime, there's less victimization. Families are reunited, and yes, it costs a heck of a lot less to the taxpayers if someone's successful in the community than if they have to be reincarcerated. So with that, I'm going to get off my soapbox, at least for today, and turn it over to Lou, who's just going to briefly talk about some DOC initiatives that are related to Second Chance Month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to take a few moments to talk about the Department of Corrections. We believe good reentry begins the minute an individual enters our facility. So some of the ways we've worked to further that belief is to explore and expand our programmatic offerings through grant-funded opportunities and continue to county and community partnerships. Some examples of the potential programming opportunities we're working on development in are tax preparation, release and reintegration groups, as well as trauma-informed programming. The department will also continue to offer and improve services that we've previously set in place, such as our recovery programming and faith-based mentoring. Most recently, we've begun discussions on moving forward with another session of our Behind the Walls job fair, which will give offenders the opportunity to connect with potential employment prior to being released from the facility. The department plans to continue to grow our ability to present our offenders with opportunities to reenter the community successfully and safely, and to give them an opportunity to have that second chance that they deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So thanks again for highlighting the importance of good reentry in Bucks County. We appreciate you.
Okay, thank you. And I neglected to mention Mr. Harrison is the Deputy Chief of the Bucks County Adult Probation and Parole Department, and as he said, Mr. Manueli is the Drug and Alcohol Supervisor at our correctional facility. Absolutely.
Comment, and thank you both for being here. It's such an important concept and program. I mean, certainly everybody deserves a second chance, and in some instances, maybe more than a second chance. And because a majority of the people that are in the criminal justice system and committing crimes are there because of their drug and or alcohol addiction. And, you know, when people, and I say this all the time, do get into treatment, and treatment is highly successful when you get the right treatment for the proper length of stay, and you get out and maybe go into a halfway house or, you know, some type of situation like that, and you got a lot of good clean time. I just said this last week at the Chamber of Commerce, the Upper Bucks Chamber of Commerce, to a group of employers there, that don't be afraid to hire someone who is in recovery. They are absolutely going to be one of your best employees. They are. And I told them this, I said, they're like having a dog or a cat out in the warehouse, because they are going to police your business, because they are going to know right away when somebody is abusing drugs in the workplace or something funny is going on, and they're going to try to help that person get help. So people deserve a second chance, and I think, and I say this all the time, it affects every family. You know, it's mental health part, drug and alcohol part, or a combination of the both. Every family sooner or later is going to have a family member who is going to be caught up in this, and they're going to want a second chance for their family member, and they deserve to get it. So thank you for the program.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Forward. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it. And finally, we have another proclamation. This is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and Commissioner DiGirolamo has a proclamation.
Thank you. I'm going to read the proclamation. I know we have some of our employees here from Bucks County, so I'd ask them.
John Geib from the Director of Emergency Communications, and some of his operators are here, so thank you for being here.
Welcome. Whereas emergencies that require police, fire, or emergency medical services can occur at any time and in any location. Whereas the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel is critical to the protection of life and the preservation of property. The safety of our emergency service response community depends upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from those who contact the Bucks County Emergency Communication Center. Whereas public safety telecommunicators are often the first contact the public has with emergency services. Our public safety telecommunicators provide a vital link for our first responders community by monitoring their activity by radio, providing them information, and ultimately ensuring the public safety. Whereas Bucks County's public safety dispatchers adeptly handled over 800,000 calls during 2021. I'm going to say that again, 800,000 calls during 2021, and dispatched police, fire, and emergency medical personnel to more than 581,000 requests, contributing directly to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of medical patients. Public safety telecommunicators have exhibited unceasing compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their duties in a year that included ongoing pandemic conditions and multiple instances of severe weather, including 7 recorded tornadoes, a 100-year flood, and the remnants of Hurricane Ida. Now, therefore, we, the Board of the Bucks County Commissioners, proclaim April 10th through April 16th, 2022 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week throughout the County of Bucks. In doing so, we honor the highly trained emergency communication experts whose professional diligence helps maintain the safety of our county, its residents, and of those who travel to our communities. Congratulations and thank you for your good work.
Thank you. We're going to start our comments actually with a quick video.
Happy National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Hello, I'm Tonka. Today I'm touring the 911 Center. I have little legs, so we will speed it up a bit. First, we will head upstairs to see where the dispatchers work. They give me lots of pets and treats. They work 24 hours, 7 days a week, weekends, holidays, and nights. In 2021, they handled over 800,000 calls. Telecommunicators Week is a time to celebrate and thank those who dedicate their lives to serving the public. Next, we will head downstairs, where we have to go through the garage where a bunch of emergency service vehicles are parked. Oh look, there's my toys. There's a bunch of offices down here, including my mom's, Audrey Kenny, the Director of Emergency Services. Thanks for coming on a tour with me. Make sure to thank a telecommunicator this week or any week. See you next time, because I'll do anything for a treat.
I told Audrey that Tonka's going to need his own social media channel pretty soon. He gets around. Thank you, commissioners, for your recognition of our frontline team. The proclamation that you read has a lot of impressive stats, but I'd like to tell a few stories that go behind those stats. So I just have 3 short stories, and just because we shouldn't be giving details, these will be abridged, but hopefully it gives you an idea of some of the stories behind those stats. So just released from our training program days prior, one of our new dispatchers, Erica, answered a call from an expectant mother. And during the call, it was determined that this baby was not going to wait for EMS to show up for his big debut. So Erica talked the caller through the instructions for childbirth. The baby arrived crying, which is good, and the mother came through the experience safely. This was just days after being released from her training program. And then just days after that call, that same team member had to handle a call for an unresponsive 1-month-old who wasn't breathing. There's just no telling what waits for you on the other end of that ringing phone. The second story is about a subject pursuit. In a single day in August, the county experienced 2 shooting incidents, one of which involving an adult probation officer and Chief Kelly from Yardley Borough, who thankfully recovered from his injuries. After assisting law enforcement with that incident in Yardley, shots rang out again in a nearby township among police officers who were arriving at a scene for a disturbance. Officers would end up pursuing this armed assailant through multiple jurisdictions and into a maze of streets and blocks in Philadelphia. Colleen was the lead dispatcher on the zone where this was occurring. She took control of communications throughout this pursuit, ensuring her units on her zone received vital location and situational information immediately. But Colleen was surrounded by a team who supported with communication and notifications and then provided that same location and informational situation information to the units on their zones as the pursuit moved throughout the county. These officers and all responders are our partners, and when they risk their lives, we will move heaven and earth to do what we can do to keep them safe. Colleen did a wonderful job orchestrating the communication aspect, but I'm sure she would agree that she wasn't alone. That was a complete team effort that day. The final story I want to talk to you about involves Alyssa, who was here with us this morning. She received a 911 call from an individual in the midst of a personal crisis and on the brink of making some devastating decisions that they would not be able to come back from. As help was assembled, again, Alyssa wasn't acting alone, but in a team. As help was assembled, Alyssa maintained contact with this individual. And as help was responding, Alyssa continued to talk to this individual and build a connection. Alyssa became a calming voice that spoke into that individual's situation. And so the conversation continued. And that conversation would last over an hour and a half long. And I have no doubt that this individual is still with us today, in part because of Alyssa's commitment to his safety that day. As many of us are accustomed to doing in the morning, maybe it's just me, but one of the first things I reach for is my phone. I look at social media. It's probably a bad habit, but it's confession time. So I was flipping through and I saw this quote this morning from American poet and civil rights activist Maya Angelou. And it says, "Courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. You can practice any virtue erratically, but nothing consistently without courage." I appreciate the courage that this team displays every day in the midst of calls that they receive from our neighbors experiencing what is likely the worst day of their life. I appreciate the courage of this team that displays, the courage that this team displays watching the back of our partnering law enforcement, medical, and fire agencies. So thank you for letting me take a few minutes to tell a few stories about our wonderful team. I also want to say thanks to Charlotte from Public Information and Alexa, who is our intern, for creating that Tonka video. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Moving on to public comment. This is on agenda items. And just for clarity, when we talk about agenda items as public comments, we do ask that the individuals who wish to speak select whatever the agenda item is. We do expect the comments to be on that actual agenda item. So we'll begin with Megan Brock talking about B, A, and B. I'm not sure what that means.
Good morning, everyone. Put my agenda here. I'm commenting on agenda item 2A and B, the Pendel Mental Health Center, the Reach Out Foundation of Bucks County. We're going to approve giving American Rescue Act funding to the Pendel Mental Health Center, and we're going to approve giving American Rescue Act funding to the Reach Out Foundation of Bucks County. And I think it's really important in this time that we are supporting mental health efforts because our children are experiencing a mental health crisis. This was noted this week in an article, this mental health crisis that Bucks County is supporting by NBC 10. It said, for children, the issues with distance learning were not academic. I'm just highlighting some paragraphs. Child abuse and neglect increased during the pandemic, according to Hoover. For children in troubled homes with alcoholic or abusive parents, distance learning meant they had no escape. Those who lacked technology or had spotty internet connections were isolated even more than their peers and fell further behind academically and socially. Returning to school after months of isolation intensified anxiety for some children. Teachers say students have greater difficulty focusing, concentrating, sitting still, and many need to relearn how to socialize and resolve conflicts face-to-face after prolonged immersion in screens. Now, all of this could have been prevented if we would have just put our kids in school. And that was something that I recognized back in 2020 when Dr. Damsker put out his guidance and said we need to get kids in school. I, as a parent, knew this was going to happen to the kids in our community. So on August 20th, I called Commissioner Marseglia at 2:06. I actually got a right to know that confirmed that they received the message at 2:09, and Ms. Payne forwarded it to Diane Marseglia. This is the message that prompted her to ask that my phone number was blocked. It prompted me my character being maligned and defamed in the Bucks County Courier-Times. I'm going to play it for all of you.
I'm calling because I am just kind of confused as to where you stand on the reopening of schools. I was listening to the Senate hearing yesterday, and they were speaking about what my primary concerns are about how suicide is going up in Pennsylvania because of in teenagers. Because of the school shutdown, there's also a 50% decrease in child abuse reporting, which is related to schools as well in society, but schools are a big part of that. And I know those are two of your specific platforms that you, even very recently, I read an article from like 3 days ago talking about how child abuse was a platform of yours and how suicide prevention is a platform of yours. So I'm just really confused because one of the things Dr. Levine also said yesterday on the Senate hearing was that school reopening should happen at a local level and that these kind of things should be happening at a local level. And because of that, I would think then for you as a commissioner, seeing that suicide prevention and child abuse prevention are two things that you claim to care about, that you would understand how important it is for kids to be in school and that you would be making every effort to advocate for children. And I'm just not seeing that. I've seen every effort to tell everyone to wear a mask, even though there's not a lot of data. The data's out in terms of whether it's doing anything. Probably not doing anything given how low the prevalence is in our county. But I have yet to see you very actively be advocating for children. So I would like to know where are you? Thank you.
So after I sent that message, it was forwarded to Commissioner Marseglia. At 4:50 p.m., I received a phone call from Commissioner Marseglia on her cell phone. Now, this was easy for me to remember the date, even though I know at the March 2nd meeting, somebody had misspoke whether, we don't know why, but someone misspoke and said that the request for my phone number to be blocked happened on October 20th. It didn't. It happened on August 20th. And I remember that because that's the date of my daughter's birthday. And when Commissioner Marseglia called me at 4:50, I was 2 minutes away from the pool where we were going to be celebrating my daughter's fifth birthday, okay? So I put her on speakerphone because I thought, hey, this is the number I don't recognize. It's probably important. Maybe it's the commissioner. She yelled at me for 2 minutes straight, hung up the phone. I then at 4:53 sent a message telling a friend I was just absolutely shocked at what happened. She sent a message to Miss Payne and to Michael Gallagher, who, and I have this in my right to know, at 4:53 p.m., to Michael Gallagher, who is the, I think he's the deputy officer of IT. He's involved in the IT. So that apparently is when she asked my phone number to be blocked because of the message I just played for you. That is unacceptable. That is a violation of my First Amendment rights, and how dare you defame my character in the newspaper. I hope everyone understands.
Okay.
We cannot allow this.
Thank you, Ms. Brock. Keep in mind, the comments were supposed to be focused on the Pendle Mental Health Center, which is getting ARPA funding because they want to improve their telehealth, and also purchasing a van so that they, and a part-time driver, to be able to get people through the Reach Out Foundation. So the comments were supposed to be about that. Not really sure, what the position is, but I guess as long as there's a TV camera. Next is Josh Hogan.
All right, Josh Hogan, my comments are about the appointment of Brian Reimers to the Bucks County Free Library Board, which ostensibly is going to happen on this agenda with a 3-0 vote. All of you are about to appoint him. I want to use this opportunity to actually talk about second chances. I really like that presentation on the whole second chances idea. What is going to happen with his appointment is a great second chance for you guys to correct course and answer some of the very simple questions that we've been asking, which I'm going to get to in just a second. To paint the picture on Mr. Reimers, I honestly don't know if you guys know exactly what's there and what's not there. This guy is a board director in Quakertown Community School District. He is, amongst board directors, probably the most vocal and outspoken constant attacker of Dr. Damsker and his guidance. So when we come in here and we hear Commissioner Marseglia insinuate that there is support here for Dr. Damsker, this appointment to the library board is very strange to me. Furthermore, I'd like to tell you a quick story about 2 Facebook groups, one of which we all know and love. It's Reopen Bucks, what me and my wife and several others run. Obviously opposed to COVID hysteria and trying to maintain normalcy over the past 2 years. In opposition to us, a separate group known as Bucks County Parents Advocating for Safety was started by Brian Reimers and a couple of others and handed off to others to run. He is a central figure in that group. And I want to make very clear that I actually like that group. I like the idea that any organization or entity should have a counterweight. I like that Reopen Bucks has a group which opposes us. The community needs that. That's healthy. It's like a free market thing. However, this group, it's hard for me to put into words what it's like to see that you're about to appoint him again by a 3-0 vote to the library board when he supports threads that make commentary like Joshua Hogan should die in a fire. He's from Quakertown community, and there was a horrific tragedy associated with the family dying in a fire up there on Christmas Day. There are threads in that group that say things like that, and that's like commonly what they do. I'm not in any way opposed to a group like that existing. I think it's necessary. I want to tell you that Reopen Bucks, if anybody ever made any comment like that, not only would we remove it because we run a tight ship, we would probably boot the person from the group. So of course, we get into a lot of back and forth and have our enemies because of ideas and all of this, but there's a difference in the way you treat people, and I hope that you guys know exactly what Brian Reimers is and who you're appointing to the library board, in addition to all of his opposition to Dr. Damsker. So why is this a good opportunity at a second chance? Well, it's because for 6 months now, how long have we been coming here? I've been asking a very simple question about this guidance. This piece of paper is the August 23rd guidance. And since you're making this step of appointing a guy like Brian Reimers, the most outspoken against Dr. Damsker, I feel like you're taking a good step towards transparency, honestly. That's all I've been asking for. Just say where you stand and what's going on. It's been very confusing to have all this mixed messaging. There's so much politics that happen in this room. I'm asking an extremely simple question. This piece of paper, which affected tens of thousands of students and their families and their communities, kept kids out of school, kept kids sitting 6 feet from their friends at lunch, got rid of field trips. Kids can't do science labs because it's too dangerous to stand next to their lab partner. How did this guidance come into existence? Who wrote it? Did everybody sit around a table? Who contributed? Did Dr. Damsker write all of it? Did he write some of it? Did he write any of it? Whose computer was it created on? This is guidance that affected our community, and I'm simply asking, how did this come into existence? And I'll never get that answer. You guys continually go back to, well, masks this and hospitals that. This document is what I've been asking about. The appointment of Brian Reimers, look, let's let it go. I want to say, the Bucks County Free Library, we're really cleaning that up. This is another aspect of appointing him to the library. You got to understand, they have been blatantly violating all kinds of laws. Sunshine Law, they haven't been having open meetings. They don't have any right to know process whatsoever. We just fixed that, folks who are here. They don't follow Robert's rules in their meetings. Like, it's kind of a mess. So I appreciate that he's gonna be a part of that solution that we're gonna help the Bucks County Free Library fix. But when you appoint someone like that, you're taking a step in a certain direction. And I hope that that's pretty clear and understandable to everybody. So let's get this out of the way. Now that COVID is over, done, we're moving on. How did this document come into existence? It's not an attack. I honestly want to just move on with my life and be done with this. But I have to understand how my government created this document when it affected so much. And I feel like that's a simple question that we should get an answer to. Thanks.
Jamie Walker.
Hi. I wanted to speak about the political appointment of Brian Reimers to the library board. I personally don't think it's a good idea. Brian Reimers helped, like Josh said, create the Facebook page, Bucks County Parents Advocating for Safety. This Facebook page has been extremely divisive and mean during the past. I have been called several names on this page that Brian Reimers created. I'm going to read to you from November 29th, 2020, why this page was started. Now, you're all employees of this county, so just picture yourself in another employee's shoes. This is why this page started. Over the weekend, many of you were discussing the attestation form. You guys probably don't even know what this stuff is. But we were also discussing the health and safety plan. As I see it, the guidelines are being ignored, and they're being ignored because they are not mandates. And Dr. Damsker is going against the recommendations of the state. He admitted that the DOH cannot appropriately contract cases. He likened COVID-19 to the flu. We know we can't say flu in Bucks County. And he says that there will be outbreaks. There were outbreaks. This person wrote, he is a general practitioner. That's a lie. She wrote, he is not an epidemiologist. That's a lie. She wrote, he is not trained in infectious disease. Another lie. So this Facebook page of the person that helped create this page that you're going to appoint, the whole page was based on lies and misinformation. Not only did this page attack Dr. Damsker, I mean, it attacked superintendents, it attacked me, it attacked school board members. This is who you want to represent the library. Like, think about this before you elect him. I'm going to just read a couple posts from this page. I mean, there are so many. Maybe you guys should join it and go through it. You can read what we've been through for the past 2 years. Here's Mr. Reimers. Somebody posted about when Dr. Damsker said athletes don't have to play sports. If you don't have children, you probably don't know, but children last year had to wear masks while playing basketball. I mean, we're going to look back on this and be very embarrassed by this stuff. But so somebody posted that article, and Brian Reimers tells to the person that posted it, oh, look, you go away, and all stupidity breaks loose, because they're talking about how Dr. Damsker said kids don't have to wear masks while they play sports. So he thought that was stupid. He wanted kids to wear masks. Here, somebody posted on the Facebook page about children in the hospital with COVID. Brian Reimers writes, "Don't tell Dr. Damsker. I wouldn't want him to have to change his guidance or anything." Here's another thing he writes. There's just so many. Somebody asked, why didn't the commissioners fire Dr. Damsker? Brian Reimers writes, well, that's the $64,000 question. He's just ignoring his responsibility, and they are letting him do it. In another post, he posts an email that you wrote and talks about how Diane Marseglia is just letting Dr. Damsker do whatever he wants, no responsibility. There's just so many. Here's another one. Oh, when Josh wrote an article about how Dr. Damsker was right about modified quarantine and about how he was right about the 3 feet distance in school. Josh wrote an article about it. Brian Reimers writes, oh, well, it looks like the good doctor posted the article himself. Where was Chris in this? Chris being a school board member he works with, so he's talking about not only Dr. Damsker, but another school board member that he works with. Here is his comment. We made petitions to try to keep kids normal in school last year. That was like our main goal. His comment is, holy hell, holy effing hell, because we wanted our kids to be normal in school. So here's another good one. Hold on. That he writes on his official page as a school board member, he writes on January 7th, 2021, when Dr. Damsker wasn't even talking to school board members or doing anything with the school board, it was you running the health department, Margie, so this is about you. He writes, we have put our faith in the health department that has shown no interest in providing us with guidance or support far too often to think it will magically change now. Why would you appoint someone that speaks about you guys like that, about an employee like that? Why would you appoint him to a board? Do you think that's a good decision?
Okay. Vanna Darmond.
Good morning. I also want to speak about that same agenda item. Actually, I came today, I'll speak later as well because I have some questions regarding the library board. One of my questions that relates to Mr. Reimers, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name, I apologize, but how you decide who you're going to appoint to the board. What kind of checks do you look into? I saw on the library that, hey, anybody interested in serving on the board submits something, hey, I'm interested to you guys. Well, what's your criteria? Because I was appalled to see the things that this man has been saying online. I was appalled at the way that he went after Dr. Damsker, appalled that he was encouraging people to go after Dr. Damsker, and thinking this person might be in charge of our library. I don't understand how that can happen. I think the other commenters brought up how he was critical of you guys, and I don't think that was okay. I'm not saying he can't have his First Amendment rights, but I'm saying you're critical of these decisions and of your government governing, and did he ever come and share that with you? Did he write an email? I don't know, but now all of a sudden he wants to be on the board. What's his criteria? Because he's a Democrat? Is it politics? I know, I bring that up a lot, right? But it's true, right? I've said that and I've proven it every time I come in here to speak. So I want to hopefully ask if you would be willing to respond and tell me what is the criteria? Why is he even up for appointment? Maybe you guys will vote no, I don't know. But there was one that Jamie didn't get to read here, and when he's talking about his board, because he's on the Quakertown School District Board, he said, our other problem is that we share the same solicitor that signed off on Central Bucks School District Plan and exemption criteria. So he's complaining because it's welcome to our world over here at Central Bucks was the comment he was responding to. Where if you don't feel like wearing a mask, you just sign off on it. A real poop emoji show, right? So you know, there again is just another example of comments made, and I have to wonder, is this going to be a good representative for our library? Thank you.
Okay, Andy Warren?
Andy Warren, Middletown, members of the board. One quick thing, when I got here a little late, there were no agendas, and one of your staff very alertly noticed that and provided one, so somebody's paying attention to where we're going, and I appreciate that. I have item 2B concerning the ARPA funding for 3 years of $62,000 to purchase a van and hire a driver. Now, I'm assuming it's to purchase one van and hire one part-time driver for 3 years. And with the ARPA money, just asking if that's a correct assumption. Item 4A, we're spending $505,000 for rental of an office space, but then in the fine print, it says plus annual operating expenses and utilities. So I'm assuming that it's $505,000 for 3 years, in addition to whatever 3 years worth of utilities and office will be. Does anyone have any idea what that might be? And finally, item 6A and B, what was the percentage of increase, if there was one, for those salaries? And is it heavily weighted in the first year? Are they even each of the 3 years? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, just to address the questions, yes, in terms of the 2B, I think it is. Yeah, the $62,000. Reach Out Foundation provides a drop-in center for individuals struggling with mental illness. This is the documentation that we get. Provides a drop-in shelter for individuals struggling with mental illness and substance abuse. This van will allow, and the part-time driver will allow Reach Out to expand their reach, be able to get these people who might not be able to get to treatment themselves to bring them in. It is for those 3 years. For 4A, the question about the lease, the number, which should be amended here, because talking about utilities, as you mentioned, $602,761.50. I'll do it again since I see you writing it. $602,761.50. It actually should also be county is 0, not county 100%. This is state funding that's being used for that purpose. And 6, I don't know if, hate to put Ms. Smith on the spot in terms of the percentage increases. Our HR director, she remembers for the percentage increases for the AFSCME and for the Peace Officers Association. Do you happen to know those off the top of your head? Or maybe Mr. Boscola, one of the two? Dead?
Dave has
it. Does Dave know? We have a dead mic. That's okay. All right. Ms. Smith does not have it, but I think Mr. Boscola does. We'll see if we can get you a microphone that works. Oh, there we go. Oh. Mr. Spencer has the magic touch.
For 6A, AFSCME 03 contract, the contract is the same as the arbitration award for the 05 part of AFSCME. It's 2.5% for 2021, 3% for 2022, 2.75% for 2023, and 2.5% for 2024. For The 6B, the Peace Officers Association, for the first year, the contracts allows for steps for years of service, which the peace officers don't have currently. So once this is approved, the peace officers will be receiving additional compensation for their lengths of service. So with 1 year of service and with 5 years of service, they'll have steps, grades, increases for their lengths of service. But the increases over the year are 2%. 2% for 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Okay, thank you. Okay, appreciate that. All right. With regards to Mr. Reimers being appointed, Mr. Reimers, as has been stated earlier, does have the right to free speech, which does apply to everybody. And despite the fact that he has been critical of us, his education background as an educator and his commitment to education in Quakertown, as well as his the fact that we do try and balance our boards geographically, and being from Upper Bucks County, are things that all weighed in his favor. So we appreciate his willingness to be on that board. Okay, we'll move on with the rest of the consent agenda. The minutes of March 16th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, resolutions 1 through 10 of the consent agenda. Making a note of the two changes on 4A. The amount should be $602,761.50, and county should be 0%, not 100%. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Move now to our regular agenda. And we have, this is an item that was on agenda several weeks ago, and there were some issues getting the legal language worked out. And that has been done now, and so we're anxious to move forward on number 11, General Services, which is the estate of, with Ezra Stone, Joseph Stone and Francine Stone, approving a 67-acre agricultural conservation easement on the Stone Farm located in Middletown Township in the amount of $2 million. Commissioner Marseglia has been focused on this since before she became a commissioner, I think.
Boy, I was a lot younger when this started. This is a large farm in Middletown that is important to everybody there and important to everybody below it because it does take in water and prevent flooding. It goes back to before 1998 when people were interested in preserving it, but I have to shout out to Mel Cardos and the late Ray Mangillo, who really tried to work towards preserving this starting back in 1998. So here we are all these years later, and we are now preserving a part of it. And I want to also give a quick shout out to former Commissioner Rob Lockery because he was wise enough to put this $2 million aside so that we would be able to do this preservation. The Stone Farm is a total of, I guess, 168 acres. We're doing 67 acres. There is some development that will occur, but there will be another 39 acres preserved. So of that farm, 63% of it will not have anything built on it. So it's a tremendous advantage, and we are thrilled that we have been able to work with the Stone family, with Middletown Township, and the people in our preservation department and general services. So I want to thank everybody. I think we have a slideshow here on this. This is an important thing to many, many people.
Mr. Spencer, go ahead if you want to talk a little bit about this.
Certainly. Just a couple slides here just to kind of show, as Commissioner Marseglia mentioned, this farm itself has a long history, but just yesterday looked back through a couple of historic aerial photos, so just kind of share that with the group here and kind of point out the specifics of what we're preserving today. So, Randy, if you go to the next slide. This is an aerial photo from 1965. Just kind of looking at the agricultural landscape, you can start to see the area just south of that. The red boundary there is what is now known as Core Creek Park today. You can actually see the original stream there. You can see the original bridge that used to cross over, all of which is now underwater. Next slide, Randy. 1975, you start to see The farmland itself hasn't changed much, still largely an agricultural landscape. You do start to see the beginnings of the formation of the flood control structure there at Cork Creek Park. There's some earth movement that's taken place. And you see the stone form there outlined in red. Next slide, Randy. 1985, you start to see a little more development around the farm, some residential. You have some schools across the street. Again, the farm itself remains agricultural and some other agricultural land around it. At that point, Cork Creek Park has been developed. The lake is there. Next slide, Randy. And today, next slide. Again, what the farm looks like today, you have a few more residential neighborhoods around the community there as Newtown has grown. The farm remains an agricultural property there with Cork Creek Park below. And next slide, Randy. Just kind of a brief overview of just kind of what we're undertaking today, but on the left side is the blue area would be the proposed residential community. The right side there, kind of in the yellowish color, is the proposed conservation easement of 67 acres. And that green area there is an existing flood easement that the county has that will be completely held within the overall conservation easement. So it's just that total of that 67 acres out of the 168 acres is being permanently preserved in this conservation easement today. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do know we have Manager of Middletown Township is here, Stephanie Teoli-Cools, who wishes to say a few words, as well as one of the elected supervisors.
Good morning. I have Anna Payne with me, who's familiar to all of you. On behalf of the Board of Supervisors in Middletown, I'm just here to really thank the commissioners and the staff for their leadership in preserving this culturally, environmentally, and historic resource in Middletown. It will definitely have a significant impact to the residents in our community going into the future. Special kudos to Commissioner Marseglia, who has shown extreme perseverance in sticking with it on this, and we appreciate it in Middletown. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, any comments or questions from board members regarding this agenda item? If not, is there a motion to approve number 11?
Motion for approval.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, budget adjustments, Mr. Buscola?
Thank you, Commissioner. Adjustment number 2 is an adjustment for the insurance for 2022. It's a request for an additional $200,000 coming from the general fund. There was additional expenditures in 2021, mostly because of COVID. We're still experiencing those additional expenditures to cover some of our facilities. So it's a request for an additional $200,000 to cover those costs.
Okay, comments or questions? Is there a motion to approve adjustment number 2?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Personnel actions, are there any comments or questions regarding personnel actions as presented?
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
And I don't know, and again, I might fumble this a little bit, but I wanted to just kind of address some of the comments from the public part of the meeting. I mean, I don't know Brian Reimers personally. I actually didn't know he was a school board member till this morning when I heard the comments. Hearing some of the comments and the posts that he put on Facebook, I don't necessarily agree on some of the comments that seem to be negative against Dr. Damsker, who I think through the whole pandemic has just done an outstanding job. And I don't agree with his criticisms and comments about the job that Dr. Dansker did. And again, I don't know Brian. And my time in public service and in politics, I mean, we at times need to endorse candidates. And I remember one time I got a question during a debate about why I was supporting somebody and the issue came up and they asked me what I thought about that issue. And I said, I don't agree with him, that person on the issue, although I'm still going to endorse him because I don't think that if you're looking to agree with somebody all of the time and endorse him or go along with that, you're never going to find anybody that you're going to endorse because you can't agree with everybody on everything all of the time. It's just not possible. It's not possible in government. It's not possible in the political arena. So while some of Brian Reimers' comments might concern me, I don't necessarily think that that precludes him from serving on a board because I disagree with some of his comments on certain issues. So I am going to vote to support him to be on the library board, even though some of the things I heard this morning were concerning to me and I disagree with. And again, going back to the point that you just can't agree with everybody all of the time. If you're looking for that person, you're never going to find that person that you agree all the time.
All right, thank you.
And I will second the
So I'll amend my motion to approve the board appointments.
second.
All right, so we have board appointments. We'll come back to personnel actions. Do board appointments, that's right. Mr. Reimers he's filling out a term, so his term would end November 1st, 2023. Mr. Carl Vivaldi is being reappointed to the Penn State Cooperative Extension for a one-year term, ends 4/2/2023. Mr. Doug Edwards is being appointed to the Workforce Development Board. He is the owner of a company in Newtown called Exact Solar. So he's a small business representative, and that's a 3-year term to end 4/1/2025. So a motion made for those 3 appointments to the board. And a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Going back to personnel actions, is there a motion to approve the personnel actions?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Other civics, we have 3, the Ann Silverman Community Health Clinic, $7,000, Quakertown Community Day, $1,000, the Rail Yard Society, $1,500. Is there a motion to approve those 3 donations?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Chief Operating Officer? Kevin?
Thank you, Commissioner. I just have some event reminders for folks. We have a county job fair coming up on Wednesday, April 27th from 4 to 7 in the 3rd floor rotunda of this building. So we hope that you all attend that. And then next is the National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. That's Saturday, April 30th from 10 to 2, and that is in many locations throughout the county, and those sites can be found on the county website. And then the Household Hazardous Waste Program has its 2nd event of the year, and that's at the Upper Bucks Area Vocational Technical High School, and that's in Bedminster Township on May 7th from 8:30 to 2. And then if I can defer some of my time to John Regula, our Chief Information Officer, to talk about a program for eligible residents in the county for internet service connectivity. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and I believe we have a slide on this as well.
Yes, thank you. This program is funded and born out of the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act, and I really want to bring public awareness to this across the county. We think many of our county households would certainly qualify and be eligible for this program. The benefit allows you to have a $30 monthly credit on your internet bill. Those dollars are paid directly to your internet provider, so your bill gets reduced by that. Once you are enrolled in the program, there is no paperwork or handling of checks or filling out of forms to have this be a benefit to you. So that $30 many of the providers serving Bucks County would have an internet resource available to you where you may get free home internet service as a result of this, certainly a reduced cost. You can also get $100 towards the purchase of a tablet or another device using internet if that's purchased through a provider. Eligibility is broad-ranging. It is based on a household, and only one member of a household has to qualify for that household to qualify. So the first way you can qualify is through income at 200% of the poverty level. And that's around $27,000 for a single household person. And you would add $9,440 for each additional member. So a 4-person household, that would be somewhere around $54,000 of income to qualify. But that is not the only way you qualify. You can qualify if any one of these are true. If anybody in that household is participating in benefits such as SNAP, Medicaid, WIC, Lifeline services, SSI payments, then that person and therefore that household would qualify. You certainly can also qualify if anybody in that household is getting a free or reduced lunch program through the school. You can qualify if you have somebody going to college and they received any amount of a Pell Grant in that household. So there are broad-ranging eligibility possibilities for you to enroll and to make this happen. I encourage all households of Bucks County to go to fcc.gov/ACP to get more info, or simply acpbenefit.org. That's acpbenefit.org if you want to just apply. Applications will take you 5 minutes or so, and you'll get a code that you can take to your internet provider and immediately start reaping the benefits of this program. As just an aside, there was a benefit program that is ending called EBB. This is not that. So if you go online and you actually see that a program is ending in March, this is not. This started up January 1st and is continuing on. It is well-funded, well into the future. So please avail yourself of this possibility, and please take these benefits that the government is offering to you so we can ensure that every household in Bucks has quality and reliable internet service to meet your needs. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, John. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the information. Thank you, John. And we'll probably look to push that out, I think, through our community partners, through human services, as well as on social media. All right. Our Solicitor's Report.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll begin by reporting that since our last public meeting, the Commissioners met with staff as well as legal counsel in executive session, first on March 30th. That was to discuss a number of different personnel-related matters. And then yesterday, the standing executive session that was conducted to discuss personnel matters again, as well as some potential legal claims and collective bargaining negotiations. Commissioner, with the balance of my time, if I could yield to our Chief Public Defender, Ann Rusevich-Faust. At our last meeting, the board recognized the important work being done by the Public Defender's Office, including in the area of pardons and expungements. And given that we are recognizing Second Chance Month today, I would, with your permission, Commissioner, ask Ms. Faust to talk about some of the work that her office is doing this month.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Faust.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Our office will be having our second Expungement Clinic. It will be at our office, which is at 100 North Main Street in Doylestown in the Criminal Justice Center on the first floor. People do not have to make an appointment. Normally, for people to get public defender service, we require people to make an appointment. On that day, we won't. The date is April 26th, Tuesday, from 1 to 3:30 p.m. If people are unable to make it on that day, you can call our office and make an appointment. We'll be happy to talk to people about that. We just ask that people remember that this clinic applies to people who have Bucks County convictions. And then if they will meet, every person that shows up will be able to meet with a member of our expungement unit. If it appears that we can help them, we will take them through the application process. But thank you for letting me plug this important service, and thank you also to this board for allowing us to establish this important unit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes my report, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to brief public comments. To Tim Daly.
Tim Daly, Lower McField Township. I'm here again to discuss misconduct by Bucks County representatives related to the fulfillment of RTKs and your illegal denials of requested information. Your legal team made knowingly false statements to constituents about their rights to appeal and utilized those false statements to trigger an untimely denial ruling. In the process, Bucks County defamed me in public filings with the OOR, branding me as a coordinating ringleader that was seeking to harm the government because I filed a grand total of 2 RTKs at the time and gave Ms. Walker and Ms. Brock advice. The personal attacks on me are concerning. Given Ms. Marseglia's continued teenage-level immaturity and her feces slinging towards constituents, I am now engaged since she decided to refer to me in her emails as the Pennsbury aggressor. Ms. Marseglia, I know I'm suing your friends and your favorite lawyers, but 2 rulings in the federal court prove they were the aggressors. Every statement that you make such when it's a federal record is a lie. Cease and desist with your comments and get my name out of your mouth. Wow. Let me get back to these illegal denials for reasons of untimely. Obviously, somebody instructed your junior legal staff to take this legal angle. We have every reason to believe this was intentional. The only 4 people could have actually told your employee to take these actions, the 3 commissioners and Joe Kahn. So I asked the commissioners, by a show of your hands, did any of you instruct a junior level staffer to intentionally deny based on this untimely denial? So based on your not raising your hands, that means you're throwing Mr. Kahn under the bus and saying he's the one that's responsible. So at this time, if you're going to say he's responsible, I'm going to ask that Mr. Kahn be placed on administrative leave with the intention to terminate his employment pending an investigation by the DA's office as to whether a PA sunshine law was intentionally violated. And there's nothing really fun to smile about, Bob. The smirk is unnecessary.
Yeah.
Laws are being broken.
Yep. All right. Andy Warren.
I assume you all have heard of the Big Dig. The Big Dig was a construction project in Boston, Massachusetts. It was originally designed 1982, scheduled to be complete 1998. It actually was completed 9 years later in 2007. The original estimated cost was $2.8 billion, $7.4 billion today. The actual cost of the completion was $8.8 billion and $21.5 billion in today's cost. Now, I mention that because they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were getting, supposedly, when they had the plans and the contracts and everything. I refer to an article in Sunday's paper that was discussed here, and I would just at some point like some clarification as to what I am misunderstanding about this article. The article states we're going to have a 28-bed new facility, which I heard talked about here. Makes good sense. It was supposed to open the end of this year. That's not going to happen anymore. It was supposed to be a new 1,400 square foot building in addition to the old one. Wondering what the total addition was. The completed costs have not, or the estimated costs have not been completed yet. They could take at least 12 months to rebuild. And last year, the board passed $400,000 contract for design, $4.3 million contract for, to a company in Boca Raton for a project that hasn't even been finally designed. That doesn't make much sense to me. And finally, it's suggested that there'll be an 85% drop in jail admissions if in fact we have 500 people in the jail. Then is that accurate? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Vanna Darmond?
I'm so glad that you approve of Mr. Reimers' First Amendment rights, Mr. Harvey, and I hope you will hold him and your other library board members accountable to we the people to uphold our First Amendment constitutional rights. I attended the most recent library board meeting and was absolutely appalled at the lack of the meeting chair following the Sunshine Act rules, honoring First Amendment rights, and Robert's rules. At the last meeting, the meeting chair stated, said, they limit public comment to agenda items only, and if you want to try to get a comment on non-agenda items, you have to send an email ahead of time. But then the board can choose not to respond, they can choose not to put it on the agenda, and if you show up to the meeting, they can tell you you can't speak on it. I don't think that is okay. I think it's a violation of First Amendment rights. It's a violation of the Sunshine Act. I was not the only one there to complain about this. Same issues. I don't know the other individuals that showed up to that meeting. By the way, it was on Zoom. That's another issue. I didn't have any previous contact with them, so it's very interesting that I wasn't the only one concerned about this violation of First Amendment rights. I even brought up to the board chair about how you guys run your meetings here, how you have agenda item comment, non-agenda item comments. I brought up the Sunshine Act. I brought up the most recent Pennsbury injunction ruling that our First Amendment rights are to be upheld. And I am concerned that the council is advising them inaccurately. I talked with the Office of Open Records. They absolutely said, no, you can't have virtual meetings anymore. Now that was corrected because I complained about it, even though I was told, no, we can still have virtual meetings, but they did correct that. But I'm asking you to please tell your library board director, to allow non-agenda public comment.
Okay.
Because that's the right thing to do.
All right, thank you.
I hope you would agree with that. Since you said First Amendment rights are important. Thank you.
Megan Brock?
Thanks for the extra time. You gave it to Andy. I should get it too.
I wanted to follow up on what I was previously sharing. We know that at a meeting recently, I announced my phone number was blocked. The county said that that was true. There was some miscommunication about the date it was blocked. It was said that it was October 20th. That's not true. That was actually confirmed via email to me. So I hope the county, after I'm done, will state that, in fact, it was August 20th when my phone number was blocked. Likely when Ms. Marseglia emailed Mr. Gallagher right after she called me on my phone. Now, everyone listened to that phone message. Commissioner Marseglia accused me of a very, very serious thing, of extensive verbal abuse in the newspaper. Did anyone who listened to that phone message think that was abusive? Did I curse? Did I even raise my voice? No. I was a concerned citizen who, by the way, was right. I saw what was happening to children, okay? My own kids were in a private school where they went to school that entire year in person. So I wasn't even calling on behalf of myself. I was calling on behalf of the children of this county who are being abused and hurt by the system and by people like all of you who are sitting in front of me. There is absolutely no excuse for Commissioner Marseglia to have blocked my phone number after, as a citizen, I gave an opinion on an issue. Does anyone disagree with that? Do we want to live in a county where if a commissioner doesn't like your opinion, they're able to stop you from contacting your entire government for 18 months? Please tell me I don't care if you're left or right. I just hope that there are enough people left in this county who actually care about the principles of this country, about the Constitution that is written on the wall right outside of this room. That is an egregious, sorry, it's very upsetting. You egregiously hurt my First Amendment rights, and then you lied about me in the newspaper, and you knew it was a lie. There needs to be some accountability. You need to resign. You're clearly unfit to lead this county.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner comments. Oh, actually, we just address. Mr. Khan, will you, I'll ask your office, please check in with the library board, make sure they're following the protocols they're supposed to follow. For Mr. Warren's comments about the forensic facility, I know we've had a couple different kind of iterations of this. We originally thought we could use an existing building, and then that obviously proved not to be the case. Ms. Neff, do you want to comment on that, or Mr. Spencer, or somebody? It doesn't matter. I think either one of you can probably do a good job of that.
Thanks. So the plan is still to bring to life the residential treatment facility, and it will be a 28-bed unit, 16 for a residential treatment facility, 8 short-term observation beds, and then 4 beds that are dedicated to competency restoration. I know that tentatively the plan is to bring a modular unit onto the facility this summer so that we can temporarily start to admit individuals. And then, because it is a construction project, and there have been some changes with the vendor and with the design, that the timeline has been pushed back. I don't know if Kevin Spencer wants to comment on anything further, but again, Donna Duffy-Bell and the Behavioral Health Department continue to provide the $4.5 million of funding for this. And due to construction issues, the timeline's been pushed back, but we do plan on admitting individuals later in 2022 this summer with a temporary modular unit.
Okay. Anything to add, Mr. Spencer? Or?
Sure. Actually, just this morning I had an update call with our architects regarding the temporary unit. We're actually looking at a modular unit that will be that 8-bed facility. Looking at a temporary location on the Neshaminy Manor campus, kind of working out the preliminary plans for that, but the plan would be to make a purchase of that modular unit, bring up that one of the units, a short-term unit, ahead of the final completion of the new building. But we do anticipate having, we're currently finalizing the construction documents for the new building. It's literally identical in square foot to the existing facility. It's just when you try to shoehorn in program space into an existing building, the efficiencies you lose don't make it ideal. So we were actually, by doing that, we actually were losing a lot of the programming space that we weren't able to fit in there. So the new building will essentially allow us to fit the entire program into one building. It's on that campus in the same location as the existing Women's Community Correction Facility.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Just to address funding for this, it's a blended funding between the state and the use of some ARP funds.
Okay, thank you. We did have one additional name that was put late on the public comment. We may have to consider having some kind of timetable because it just becomes difficult for our staff to constantly be going back and forth. Ms. Walker?
Okay. We have been asking who wrote the 823 guidance for almost 7 months, and I think I figured it out. The Rudolph Clark Law Firm plays a very significant role in Bucks County. Senator Steve Sanasario works for them. We know him from massless parties with Commissioner Harvey at school board members' homes after you send a letter to school board members threatening them with the health department to mask our children. He also, a Senator Collette, works for the Rudolph Clark Law Firm. They are the board solicitor at Pennsbury and Bensalem. Now, Senator Collette's chief of staff, her name is Corinne Christensen, sent an email to a David Toth at the Pennsylvania Department of Health. Didn't send anything to our health department. I put a right to know request in for it. Hi, Dave. Senator Collette and I have a question for you regarding an issue which we are getting inundated with questions from constituents in Bucks County, specifically seeing emails and other statements like the one from this county health department. What she sent to the Pennsylvania Department of Health was a screenshot from the webpage that Mr. Reimers runs. So she took a screenshot from that page, sent it to the Department of Health. She said, the health director says we are moving to an influenza model. We won't be contact tracing. This is not the advice she wanted. This isn't what the guidance she wanted. She sent her own guidance to the health department August 13th. August 23rd, it's the same guidance that's on our Bucks County Health Department. How did that happen? How did the same exact word-for-word guidance get from her email to our health guidance, Margie? I actually made this for you. I think you should hang this in your office so you can remember what you've done. You copy and pasted health guidance for 80,000.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want this?
It's probably off the CDC website, so I don't think we need it. Okay, commissioners' comments. Commissioner DiGirolamo.
You think of county government and the good work that everybody does. And I think the foundation of the good work that county government does is not the three commissioners. Certainly the department heads and our row officers play a big part of this, but I think the good work of county government takes place by all of our employees, the 2,500 employees that we have, because they're at the forefront of what's important and the problems that come in. And there was an article in the Courier, Peg, on Sunday that kind of really grabbed me, and it was just really powerful. It was in the opinion section, and I'm going to try to paraphrase a little bit. It was written by a woman, and I'm not really sure if she even lived in Bucks County, but I think she lived here in the Southeast. She was 60 years old, and she was taking care of her severely disabled son, who was 36 years old. And she had been taking care of him since he was born. Now, if you read the article, there's nothing in there about her having any help from the child's father or the husband, so I'm assuming that he's probably not in the picture. So she's 60, the child's 36 years old. His diagnosis is Down syndrome, but also a diagnosis of schizophrenia. So he is very severely ill. And she explains her day-to-day experience trying to take care of him. It's a 24x7 hour job. He has trouble leaving home to go to doctor's appointments, and she says it's like a 3 or 4 hour process to try to convince him, to get out of the house and go out to the doctor for his own good. All he wants to do is stay in his room, and she says he feels safe in that room. And he's struggling more and more every day, and she used to have at one point in time help coming in almost every day. They called it a DSP, direct support professional, used to come in, but for some reason she lost that. These people are not very well paid, these DSPs. They make about $12 an hour, and that's all they made. So she became the child's DSP, and she's getting paid that $12 an hour to take care of them 24/7. And, I just couldn't help but think, what that must be like for this woman. And she says at times he's very emotional, hard to handle, maybe a little aggravated and violent at times. And she says the things that she uses to calm him down, which she tells him that I love you. And that kind of calms him down, and he says, I love you too, Mom. And he seems to understand that what she's going through, and the thanks. So when I think of what the county does, it's important, and I know our Director of Human Services is here, Rachel Neff, and a good part of what the county's budget deals with human services, taking care of these types of people, the mental health issues, the drug and alcohol issues, senior citizens, all kinds of people with disabilities, and that's a big part of what the county does. And I think probably the most important part, because we're talking about our most vulnerable people, our most vulnerable. And I think that is an important part of what we do. And I want to thank our employees because, again, they're on the front line, making sure people that need these types of services get the help that they so genuinely need. And this lady's ask at the end was, she was focusing in on the state budget and more funding for human services, which funding for human services then comes back to the counties, which then we have additional money to make sure that these types of people are taken care of. So, you know, it falls on the state, it falls on the county. So I just wanted to just say how powerful that message was from this woman and how important our work here is in the county, from the top on down, and all of our employees to make sure that the people who are most vulnerable, and certainly this young man with a diagnosis of Down syndrome and schizophrenia, our most vulnerable people get the services that they deserve. And I think we do an outstanding job of making that happen here in Bucks County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Well said. Appreciate that. Commissioner Marseglia.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. For my comment, I'm going to actually turn to our Clerk of Courts, Mr. Monroe, who I think wants to say something.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I appreciate it. There were some comments that were made tonight, particularly about mental health with children and people in general, related to mitigation efforts that have happened over this horrible pandemic. And it's personal to me, and I apologize if I get upset when I'm saying this. But many of you know that I was diagnosed with cancer during my election for Clerk of Courts. That left me with half of an immune system. My family was already quarantining 6 months prior to the pandemic. So I knew a thing or two about quarantining before anyone else did. And when the comments were being made about masks and things of that nature, as if that was somehow the reason for these mental health issues now, you know, in my perspective, in my family, and from what I've seen, kids are not afraid of masks. Kids are not afraid of being 6 feet apart. What they're afraid of is they're afraid of losing their mommy and their daddy. That's what terrified them. They hear it on the news. We watch the news at home as adults. People don't realize that sometimes kids walk by and they absorb those things. You know, they're not stupid. Children are bright, they're brilliant, they learn, and they know what's going on. It has nothing to do with the masks. So once our local school district went maskless and the surge spread, and my family got it, and I got it before my children, my daughter found out in school that I was diagnosed with COVID. Don't ask me how she found out about it, but it got to her while she was in school. And she broke down because she knew that her daddy that had cancer had COVID, and she, in her mind, what does a 10-year-old think with respect to COVID? Again, had nothing to do with the masks, which she proudly wore, had nothing to do with social distancing. It was that. So, you know, by the way, that COVID experience that I had left me with a permanent mark, because immediately after having COVID, my blood pressure went through the roof, and now I'm on permanent medication as a result of it. So the dangers are there, and I'm considering myself lucky, having a half an immune system and being left, you know, with being on a medication. But I think the thing that has not been said and I think is very important to point out, is the one kind of elephant in the room is how many lives have your efforts saved in this county? I know if I would have gotten it earlier, before vaccines and things of that nature, I am convinced it would have taken me. So I personally want to say thank you to the board, thank you to Dr. Damsker for making those mitigation efforts and saving a countless amount of lives, which I don't think that we will ever know. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I just want to close out thanking our staff and everybody, as always. It's coming up before our next meeting. Passover will begin, and Easter will occur. It's rare, once every several years, the Muslim holiday of Ramadan coincides, and so Ramadan, which began a few days ago, will be going on for the next roughly 30 days. So for those who practice Christianity, Judaism, Islam here in Bucks County, we wish all of you a very happy and holy holiday and safe holiday. We heard a lot today about free speech and social media, and I think anybody who's roughly my age or older, can understand the impact cable news and social media have had on our society. It has allowed people to put themselves in a bubble, hearing only the news they want to hear, talking only to the people who talk like them, and coming out convinced that their positions are always correct all the time. And anybody who thinks differently is stupid or mentally ill or something else. Mr. Geib, who heads up our 911 center, talked about the fact the first thing he does is look at social media in the morning. He said it might be a bad habit, and it might be. So, as these times of peace with the three major Western religions kind of coincide this month, I think all of us can pray for peace in our county, in our communities, that maybe we start listening a little less to what's on our phones and start listening a little more to people who maybe don't think like we do. Certainly, we've done a lot of listening to the people. We don't really have much of a choice up here of people who clearly don't like us. So that's part of the job. That's why we get the big bucks. So I apologize to those who see these meetings. And just as a refresher, in case you missed it, because you probably did, today at this meeting, this board, along with the help, obviously, with our staff, approved almost $200,000 for a youthful offender program to help young people who have committed crimes go through almost like a boot camp to straighten their lives out. We've approved over $400,000 in funding to help those who are mentally ill through telehealth and having transportation services so they can get to where they need to get to in case they can't get there themselves. We have approved over $137,000 to continue with our emergency rental assistance program, which has kept about 3,000 families from being evicted. Because certainly, we can talk about there are some obviously good economic numbers overall, but there's still people facing that problem. We approved about $83,000 in funding through our workforce and economic development to help people be retrained or improve their skills so that they can keep their job, move to a better job. Employers can, uptrain their own workers. In addition to $2 million of agricultural conservation, just today. So it's been a good day's work. And obviously weeks and weeks and months go into all that. So thank you to the staff for all the work you do getting us to that point. And and for now, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.